So my name is Tina Berry. I teach art and geography in Tulsa Public Schools for 7th and 8th grade. This is my unit, Smart Math, Paper Polyominoes, and Ceramic Tetradic Cuboids. I told that to somebody the other day and they were like, what? And I kind of explained it briefly to them. They were like, I want to take that art class. I said, thank you, that's awesome. So it was, of course, in Rogers' perimeter, area, volume, and all that, a study of measurement. This quote, one important reason to study geometry is that it promotes the ability to visualize and mentally manipulate objects in space. This is a necessary skill for many professions. It was from a textbook by Sylvia Beckman. I really like this quote because it really reiterates the importance of art, even though it's about math. So I was asked to share objective strategies and standards today. So I put up the standards and I've got some pictures to go with each. So we talked about how to measure and with what tools to measure. Students were asked to measure the swimming pool deck area. So they had to measure the outer perimeter, the inner perimeter, and then subtract, of course. And they were given yardsticks and measuring tapes. Most of them had never touched a measuring tape before, so that was kind of interesting to, they were fighting over who got to zip it back. And so that was always fun. They decided they actually liked using the yardsticks better because they could run around each other measuring. They really liked that as well. But they did use the tape measures as well. They also measured their desks with rulers and yardsticks. And then we went outside and measured our field to get the idea of how much it would take to build a track around our field. And we used one of the walking measuring tapes for that. My slides are a little off, I apologize. Understand and apply the knowledge of measurement of perimeter, area, and volume, and the nature of names and units associated with them. It was really important for them to understand and apply those measurement skills because they do things in math, but they don't generally transfer them over to any practical skill. And so that's what I really wanted them to understand was that people every day measure things. It's not something you only do in math. And here they were actually drawing up their cuboids, and they were creating their cubes and drawing on them, and they all decorated them differently. Using measurement to produce figures on a 2D surface, and then folding them up to create the 3D piece, which was the cubes there, and then using them as a model for a clay tetradic cuboid. They had to work in groups of 4 and see how many different tetradic cuboids they could create and try to draw them on paper in 3D, which was also a really big challenge for them. And then they had to measure out on grid paper their pieces for their clay. They had to match the measurements of the cuboids that they had already created. So they had to know how big their cuboids were and then measure out the grid paper to cut out their clay pieces. And the idea is when you set up your cubes and you have your clay piece done, they'll be the same size. So then they were creating their clay pieces, and I was really impressed with how many students went for the harder pieces, the more complicated pieces. But I have to say I probably didn't give as much instruction as I typically do for clay, and I think they actually did better. So because they were just so into it, they were really involved. They really wanted to make it match. Some of them were really kind of obsessive about getting it perfectly looking like the pieces. And some of them were just like, oh, I don't care. But I told them that they could decorate them any way they wanted to. And some of them did, and some of them didn't. Some of them were saying, oh, no, I'm not going to do that until I get the paint out. So we'll see how that goes. The screen turned off and now it won't forward. Oh, okay. It skipped one. Okay. teaching strategies. So I went with the 4-step strategy from Kolb's cycle of experiential learning. And here, this 4 steps, basically it's the do, the hands-on, observation and reflection, forming abstract concepts, and then testing in situations, that active experimenting. And Kolb's philosophy is that you can start on any one of those, but then you have to go in order to finish. And we actually kind of did rotations of that with each step that we did in our process. So when we were doing our polyominoes, we did this, and then when we did our cubes, we did this, and then when we did our tetradic cuboids, we did this. Our standards for art, we did the create and connect. Creating, of course, is a given. The connecting is connecting the interdisciplinary, which is math and art. And my students, whenever I told them about this unit, they were like, what? We have to do math and art? That doesn't make any sense. I said, okay, we also do science and art, and we do English and art, because my class, I literally connect every lesson with another subject. So I said, you just don't know that I do that maybe without me saying, no, we're doing math with art. And then our math standards, developing and understanding the concepts of surface area and volume of rectangular prisms was definitely something that we were doing hands-on and learning about that. And then using a variety of tools, which we used the rulers, yardsticks, tape measurers. And I said last night, I thought it was really funny because one of my students commented, oh, that's how you use a ruler? Bless your little 8th grade heart. But they really did get a sense of how to use their math skills, and I think they got a sense of accomplishment as well, because they're actually not only learning about math, but they're coming out with a final product of the math that they really want to take. Can we take these home? You take all your art home, of course. And so it was pretty exciting for them to actually get to incorporate it, even though they didn't want to at first. And then using the cubes, these are Soma cubes, and I actually bought the puzzle, and they passed it around, and everybody was trying to solve the puzzle. And they asked, I had one student who asked if she could make all the pieces so she could have a giant Soma cube. And I was like, get at it, girl. Finish it off. So she's actually already made 2 of the pieces and wants to complete the rest. So I thought that was pretty awesome. I thought I had another picture of, guess not. But the pieces have just come out absolutely amazing, and I'm impressed with me because the lesson was pretty awesome, and I'm impressed with the students because they've really pushed themselves to do more with the project. So that's all.